from the Scrappy Sisters, and I'm up today with a layout. It's a challenge over at the Crafty IQ Facebook group. I'll leave the link in the description box down below. Jackie has started this and it's a super fun challenge, and I participated last month but I didn't film it, so you won't have seen it on the YouTube channel yet. But basically it is sort of like a recipe challenge, I guess, where there's different kind of components that you need to include in the layout. But with this one, you got each of the components every day over a week, so over 7 days. So there's 7 different layers that you need to include. Some people chose to do their layout, you know, a little bit of the layout every day over the 7 days, and others, like me, waited until the end, and now I'm putting it all together. I haven't decided which way's better. In some respects, I love the idea of doing one thing each day, and you don't stick anything down, because sometimes, you know, the next layer might need you to do something that might require pulling up things. So, but I know a lot of people just sort of played along on each of the days after the layers were announced, and so I might do that next time. But I was the first person to give layer number 1. So layer number 1, which I chose, was that to do a little bit of mixed media on a plain cardstock background. So it could be white, coloured, doesn't matter, but just a plain cardstock background, and only a little bit is okay. And then the second part of my layer was to use at least 2 contrasting pattern papers and make a vertical design on the page. So I'm cheating a little with my layout. I have 1 sheet left in the Vicky Booten mixed media pad. I think this was the very first one that she did, and this is my very last sheet. So it has 36 sheets in it, and I really want to use it because I've only got 1 left. And so, you know what, I'm going to. Now, I'm still going to add some mixed media, so I thought I would add a little bit of green. So I've used this Distress Oxide in Twisted Citron, which is going to be very bright, and I might come in with one of my slightly less neon colours, but I'm just going to add some splatters. So I want to bring a little bit of green in, and so I'm just going to add some extra splatters to this already mixed media'd page, because I should move my photos, shouldn't I? Because I just think a little bit of green would be cool. And yes, I know I'm cheating and it was my challenge, but you know what? We're just going with it. I could do more packaging technique, but to be honest, I think there's enough on here. I'll just bring the green out a little bit so you can actually see it. And I'm going to come in with a little bit of navy as well. And I might also come back with a slightly less neon-y green. I was trying to think of the right term there. Let me just get a baby wipe out. Clean off my brush and my mat. Love these mats. Let me see. I do have bundled sage as well, and that might be a good option. Let's have a look. For a bit of a... This is like a dirtier green, maybe? Is that an acceptable term? I'm not sure. We're going to go for it anyway. This is definitely a more mossier green, perhaps would be a better descriptor. It might not even show up enough. Nah, you won't even be able to tell once I splatter that I even used a slightly darker or mossier green, because the splatters are small, and that's my fault for using a small paintbrush. You can't really tell. So I'll add these. Then I'm trying to challenge myself, and this is going to be a big challenge, and I might hate it, but that's okay. I'm going to challenge myself to use a collection that I don't love, which I know sounds a bit weird, and why wouldn't I just get rid of collections that I don't love? It's not that I don't like this collection, but I don't love it. Let me just pick up the excess of this so that I don't have to wait for it to dry. That's a good thing about Distress Oxides, is the colour transfers almost immediately to the paper, and you can pick up the excess with some paper towel and it's good to go. Now I've got some Paige Evans collections here. I think this one's Turn the Page. So I've got this pattern, I've got this pattern, and I've got this pattern. So they're very similar size in pattern, so I definitely need to pull something that is not quite so like similar in pattern size. Now these are my photos. Now I don't have pink in these photos as much as I do red in Lincoln's t-shirt. My t-shirt here is a bit more of that kind of pinky colour, but what I'm thinking I might do is make my vertical sort of more over here and cover the bulk of that pink. I don't mind this little bit of pink that's sort of happening over here, but this big chunk of pink I think I might try to cover. So I'll back my photos in white cardstock as well, and I'm just trying to think if I've got something that might be potentially could work. But maybe I'll find something in my little scraps container that's a bit more I should talk while I'm doing this, shouldn't I? I'm just looking for something that's a bit more red, not like super red. I guess I could go red to match in with no, I don't want red. Something like that could work. Something like that could work. What about no, let's not give ourselves too many options. So I'm thinking I've got 3 photos. I need to use at least 2 pattern papers. I quite like the wood grain in that one because these are photos of my son and I, but having said that, you know me, I don't really mind. I want to cover up that pink over there. I'm thinking I might make a slightly smaller strip. And then maybe one of these is just a little bit of, maybe that, more the colour of my shirt, yeah, rather than the darker side. So I might cut a strip of that. Okay, so I'm going to go and I'm going to create my strips and come back and show you what I've done, and then we'll talk about the next layers. But I think this might take me a bit of faffing around. So I'm going to create a vertical design covering this pink, bulk of pink over here, and then I'll come back and we'll discuss. Okay, so this took me a lot longer than I would care to admit. But I am thinking, I haven't stuck anything down because I want to work through all of the different layers before I commit. But I'm thinking something like this for my vertical design. I've got my 3 photos. So for the challenge, we could use any number of photos we chose. So I'm going with 3 photos. These are photos of when Lincoln was sick. He was quite unwell with just a cold, but it really threw him for 6. It was our first cold of the year. Yeah, so he had a fever and he was just very miserable and fell asleep on the couch with me, which he's not done since he was really a newborn. So that's what these photos are. So this was step 1. So mixed media, cheated a little, don't tell anyone, and then a vertical design with pattern paper. So for the second layer, I think this was Daisy's. She wanted us to represent music in some way on our layer. So either use it in a title, embellishment, subject of our photos. It doesn't really matter, but just to use music. So these photos aren't about music. I am big on music, if you didn't already know that. And so that wasn't going to be too difficult. I was trying to think of a song title that I could use. And the title I came up with isn't really about sickness or illness or anything. It's something it's been stuck in my head for a while, so it's a sign I needed to use it. So I've already prepared my title, and it's "The Road is Long with Many a Winding Turn." If you know the song, it now will be stuck in your head. So I'm thinking I'm going to put my title probably going down the page like this. And so that will be my incorporating music. The third layer is to add stars. Now, I'm not going to do that until the very end because I think I'll end up adding stars as like little sprinkly bits, as Laura Alberts calls it. So that's sort of where I'm going with the stars. So we're going to come back to stars. Don't let me forget them. Layer number 4 is to use 2 different fonts for the title, which I have done, to make sure you have 3 of something on the page. So I've got 3 photos, totally going with that. I've also got 3 different pattern papers. And then to use a punch. Now, a punch is a little tricky for me. I don't actually have a lot of punches. So I've got a couple of options. I've got this cute little music note punch that I thought would also be cute to add little kind of sprinkles to. I've also got this little kind of star punch. It's actually more of a flower, but we're going to call it a star, which I could also use to add little sprinkly bits at the end. And then I've also got some like label punches, which I could totally use as layering. But I'm thinking one of those 2 will probably work. And then layer number 5 was to use something in your stash that is at least 5 years old or your oldest item. Now, I don't know how old this paper pad is. Maybe it tells me on the back. I don't think it does. Does anyone know how old it is? I don't think it's 5 years old, but maybe it is. Take Me Away is what it's called. Doesn't have a date. Oh, 2016. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Done. 5 years old. So I am using Take Me Away. That is my supply. That is 5 years old. Number 6 is to add sequins and splatters. So I've already added my splatters and I will come back. I've got plenty of sequins over here that I can pull from. These ones are just my Speaker Mum scrap sequins, but I've got others, although that mix will work well, and white is always good. Maybe even a little bit of red. I don't know, we'll leave them out. Probably not the black and gold. And of course I always add splatters, so that's going to happen. And then layer number 7, I need to add stitching. Faux, stamped, hand or machine, it doesn't matter, just some form of stitching. So I do have a sewing machine. I have never sewed on paper and my sewing machine is not currently set up. So I won't be adding machine stitching, although it is something that I want to do. I just don't have time to set up and practice and work out how to stitch on paper. So I'm thinking I will add some form of faux stitching. Hand stitching. I don't think I'll add faux stitching. I think I'll do some hand stitching. So I'm going to see how we go. But what I thought I will do is I'm going to distress the edges of this paper. I am going to back my photos on some more pattern papers from this paper pad. So I'm not nearly used it all, but I've used a good chunk of it. I've only got sort of that much left, which is good. So I'm going to back my photos on just a bit more. They need something to help them pop off the page a little bit. So I'm going to do that. I might try and find a bit of a green in my stash because, you know, there's a little bit of green that I'm kind of with my splatters that I've added in. There's a bit of green in Lincoln's t-shirt and there's a tiny bit of green in these papers. So I am going to try and add a little bit of green in my backing. Yeah, and then I'm distressing my edges. I'll back my photos, and then what I think I might do is using my embroidery thread, which I need to put my hands on. I can see it's under my desk. I think I might do some little kind of cross stitching along these edges, not all the way up and back, but just a few little crosses. That's what I think I'm going to do. So let me go off and do that. Let me distress my edges. I've got my distressing tool here. Stick my vertical layers down, and I'll come back and show you how I've stitched and things like that. But that's where I'm up to. Oh, in terms of embellishments, I don't actually want to put too much on this page, but this is really weird. I really want to get this couch on here, mainly because where else am I going to use a couch? And as part of my journaling, you know, I'm going to talk about the fact that Lincoln came, we were lying on the couch and he fell asleep with me. So I'm thinking I'm going to tuck a little couch in Yeah, and I've got a few other bits and pieces. I wouldn't mind getting on one of these little charms from a place called Charms Creations. She's an Australian mum who makes these cute little embellishments, and I'm trying to use them a little more. So I'm thinking I'll add one of these. I like the blue because it matches this, but it doesn't really match my title, so I don't know. Anyway, thinking this also is a star, which obviously I need to get on the layout as well. I do have these little green bits. I don't know. There's a few bits that I want to play with, but I definitely want to get that couch on. I don't want to do, as I said, a heap of embellishing, but the couch is a must. So let me just dress my edges, layer up my photos, stick everything down, and I will come back and let you know how I've gone, and I'll probably add my title lengthways from top to bottom. So yeah, let me do that and I'll come back. Okay, so I haven't stuck much down. I've stuck my title down, I've stuck my paper down, as you saw before, and I've layered my photos. I put some layers behind my photos. Now I've just placed my embellishments here. These little music notes are, I punched out with my punch, so that's that part of that layer done, and I'm just using them as like quotation marks. So I thought that was pretty cute. I've got these little stars, which I think will work okay, and I've got some sequins I'm going to add in. And then the one thing, I've got to add 3 of something, and so I've got 3 clusters, 3 photos, 3 pattern papers. That works. 3 florals, and then stars, which I've done, sequins and splatters, which I will do. Something that's at least 5 years old I've done, and then the only thing I have left to do is my stitching, which I haven't done yet. But I want to stick all this down, and then I'll come back and I'll add a tiny little bit of hand stitching. So I'm going to stick this down in basically this same arrangement. I will add a little bit of something through my tag. I don't mind a naked tag. I'm just thinking I might remove it altogether, actually. Scrap that. I'm going to remove my tag. Yeah, and then I'm going to stick these things down, see if I think what I'm going to do. So this is quite a large floral here, but I'm actually thinking I'll cut this one or this one in half and actually save one of my other floral ephemera pieces for a different layout. So I'm still going to have some floral there, but I think I'm going to cut this one in half. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. Let me stick this down and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have stuck everything down now. So I've added my sequins, got my little stars here. I've done my splatters. I used my navy Heidi Swapp Colour Shine. Got my little punched music notes here as my quotation marks for the title, and everything's stuck. So everything is stuck. So the last thing I need to add is the stitching. Now what I thought I would do is some hand stitching, and I thought I might just do a couple of little cross stitch marks kind of around each cluster. Now it's been a while since I've done these, so I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm just going to use my pokey tool. Oh, this pokey tool I have obviously used to unblock some Nuvo. It's got bits on it. So I'm just guesstimating. There's no precise measuring around here. Now that will do 3 little crosses there, and I'll do another one on this side. 1, 2, 3 little crosses there, and then another one down here. 1, sorry about that noise in the background. So that was not straight, but anyway, that's okay. So I was just using my foam mat and my pokey tool, and then I have got this blue floss that I thought I would use. So I can either use, that's only 2 strands, or do I use, I think I might use all 6. So let me just cut some of that. I did not get a needle out. That was a bit silly of me. But let me just get a needle out. I might close my door so you can't hear that noise in the background. There's a needle. Let me just close my door. Sorry. Lots of household noises coming along here. That needle's not going to work. It's going to be the eye is going to be too fine. You try a different one. Need one of these big ones. Just wonder though, that might be actually too big. Fit through my hole. No, should work. Alright. So, let me just show you how this last final touch is going to come together. So, I pierced my holes through. You can see them on the back here. And I'm just going to grab some washi tape. Sorry about shaking my camera. To use to stick down the end. Just to make sure it's not too bulky. And then I'm just going to do a cross stitch. That's all. Just a cross stitch. I'm going to go up one way and then back the other. Like this. Sorry if I'm a little bit off camera for this. I have to kind of turn it up the other way so I can see my holes when I'm coming back through. And then back down for my simple little, oops. Oh, this is one bad thing. It always happens when I use embroidery floss. I need to loosen it off a bit. There we go. Lost my needle. Rethread, and I'm almost done. So while I am stitching this little bit, I will say go and check out my description box down below, because I will have linked everything about this challenge down there. If this is something that takes your fancy, you obviously do not have to have a YouTube channel to join. You can just play along for fun. Come and join the Facebook group. It's going to be a monthly challenge with a hop on Facebook and Instagram. If that's your thing and you would like to participate, then you can, but you do not have to. You can just play along for fun. Yeah, and we'll be doing it monthly, and it'll be rotating who starts off the layer. So I did this month, which means I will be doing the very last layer next month, which I think is really tough. So I need to put my thinking cap on for that one. But yes, go and check it out. So it's a lot of fun, just like a recipe challenge, if you've ever done a recipe challenge before, and just a nice way to, you know, challenge yourself and have some fun with creating. So I'm just adding these last little bits of stitching, which is taking much longer than I thought it would. So hopefully my video is not too long. And apologies for the live style of video again. I know some of you love it and some of you don't love it. So I'm doing a mix, but also this is just much easier for me because I don't have to edit. And when the house is quiet and I have the ability to be able to do this, it's a nice way for me to be able to create, because it does free up my time a little bit and means I don't have to spend my valuable free time editing and voiceovering. So I'm being a little bit selfish doing it this way, but I can't do it this way all the time because, as I said, I have to have a quiet house, and that's not always the case. But I'll also not just have to have a quiet house, but if my partner is home and he's sitting in his office, our offices were one room when we first moved into this house, but we actually put a wall up between them. But they're obviously only separated by a wall and a door, which possibly describes many people's houses. But it's you know, it's very easy to overhear each other, and so I don't like to disturb him. So if I'm doing one of these live videos where I'm sort of talking and explaining my process, then I need him not to be home. So that limits my options, which is why I don't do them very often. So I'm just doing the last couple of little stitches, and I will have finished this recipe challenge. So definitely go and check out Jackie's Facebook group down below, and I will have linked, hopefully all the other people that are participating in this hop today will have linked as well. So you'll be able to go and check them out. Hopefully there'll be a few of us, but I don't really know at this point because I've created this, I think the day the last layer was announced. I don't remember exactly, but I created this pretty soon after the last layer was announced. So I don't know how many people will get a chance to play along, but the hop is, if you're watching this video, you already know, on the 30th of June. So 30th of May. So anyway, that is it. We are all finished. Thank you so much for watching. I will do some journaling probably in here, but I like to do that off camera so I have no pressure, you know, with my journaling, getting spelling and things like that right. So yes, I will tell the story before I put this into my album, but we are finished. So thank you for watching. Here it is. I'm loving this little stitching detail. I think it's very cute. I probably should have done one in here just in terms of balancing out which of the kind of edges it's on, but I wanted them to be with the clusters. So yeah, there we go. We are all done. So thank you so much for watching. Everything will be linked in the description box down below, and we'll see you in our next video. Thanks guys. Bye.